Hey, so check this out. So I recently made a video talking about, the different situations and circumstances that we find ourselves in and the different perspectives that we can have. One thing that I've learned is like we adopt the perspective that we have from the people that we grew up around, right? And your perspective is either that of, a victim or victor. Things are either working together for your good no matter what they are, or why is this always happening to me? You know what I'm saying? But that all depends on your perspective. Adopting a new perspective is difficult because we've been trained, we've been conditioned to think the way that we think for however old you are for that many years. You know what I'm saying? So it's easy to get comfortable and stuck in that way of thinking. Most people have to come about a new way of thinking because they are tired of getting the results that they're getting in life, period. Just waking up and like, man, life is not meant to be miserable. You know what I'm saying? Like, we not put on this earth to suffer and be miserable. Once I learned that is the mentality that I'm adopting. Especially when the word says that all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. All things, everything, especially the things you don't understand, is working together for your good. Everything. So even the pain is temporary because pain produces growth. I said in a previous video that growth is never comfortable. It is extremely uncomfortable. But it's because it's going against things that you thought you knew, or a certain way that you thought you should feel. Like, well, I should think this way, or I should feel this way because my mama, daddy, grandmama, auntie, uncle, cousin, all of them did it. You know what I'm saying? So to think differently than what you came from, and then be okay with, because birds of a feather flock together. Like, we're around each other because we're of the same mind. And I try not to attach good or bad to anything. Like, it is what it is. If you are comfortable with the way that you think, then no one should try and change the way that you think. You should come about that realization on your own. That is also unfair to expect everyone else to think the way that you think. Why? And I'm just posing questions. You should ask yourself, why should I think the way that everyone else thinks? If the way that I'm thinking is harmonious with myself and with the world, I ain't hurting nobody, man. We're not hurting anyone, man. I said all that to say, we have the freedom to think for ourselves, to adapt your own way of thinking. If you just stop and thought why you think the way that you think, or where the thoughts that you are thinking are coming from, what I'm realizing is that a lot of us do not spend a lot of time thinking, but it's because there are so many different things distracting us and trying to get our attention to where I can sit here and think for a minute, but then all of a sudden squirrel, whatever my squirrel moment is, we all have a squirrel that's really good at taking our attention. But it's up to us to realize that. If you feel like I'm thinking too much, then this video is not for you. But if you are still listening, allow me to challenge you to meditate. When I first started meditating, I made a video about this too. Make sure you go watch it. When I first started meditating, it was very difficult for me to stop thinking. And I got so frustrated after like 5 minutes, after like 2 minutes of just sitting there being quiet, my mind went all over the place. But I've learned, like, it's a process. And just like you try to strengthen your muscles when we go to the exercise, your brain is a muscle, your mind is a muscle. You have to exercise it. You have to get it to the point to where you can control what you're thinking. You can control your feelings and your emotions because you pay attention to what you're thinking. You pay attention to what you're paying attention to. The one thing that all of us have that we take for granted a lot of times is our time and our attention. Those are your most precious gifts. But we so easily give it away to people. I said all that to say to make sure that whatever you're putting your time and your attention in, you're giving your time and your attention to, make sure that it is harmonious with your mind, that it's feeding you a harmonious perspective. Because anything else, it's not of God. It creates hell on earth unnecessarily, because you're thinking that this is happening because of a victim mentality. But once we heal from the inside out, that victim becomes a victor because you've overcome those thoughts. Those thoughts that try to tell you, you not this or you not that, or why that, or why that. It's always complaining, bro. Like, be quiet.